In this lesson, we're going to talk about data blending. Now, data blending is the process of taking data and using different text-based functions to be able to determine how that text is going to be displayed or stored inside of your data environment. Now, a lot of the things we're going to talk about in this lesson are going to be specific to Excel because that is the one that we're going to use most often as data analysts in the real world. And we're going to be able to use a lot of these same basic functions across other more complicated tools as well. But Excel gives you a good idea of how these things work. When we talk about these different text functions, it allows us to do all sorts of things with that text to manipulate it. For example, we might want to trim off any leading or trailing spaces that may cause our data to be invalid. To do this, we can use the command trim and then put the data inside of that we want to trim any of the things in. So for example, if I have a cell A1 that has space JSON inside of it, I can then go to B1 and type in equals trim parenthesis A1 end parenthesis, and it's going to display the word JSON without those leading spaces. That's the idea of how we can use trim to manipulate that data. Another one we can use is what's known as clean. Clean is a function that will remove all of our non-printable characters from that ASCII and return only the printable ASCII characters. So if I imported data that was invalid and had something like my name, Jason, with the return key after it, it will actually take away that non-printable return key and just return the term JSON. To do this, you use equals clean parentheses and then the data you want to clean, such as cell A1. Next, we have left. Left is a command that's going to display the number of characters from the left side of the field. So let's take an example here. On your screen, you can see I have a list of 4 file names. Each one begins with a 4-digit code that tells me what course it belongs to. For instance, data-datablending.mp4 is this video. Next, I have cysa-loganalysis.mp4, which belongs to my CYSA or Cybersecurity Analyst course. Then we have data-datemanipulation.mp4 and then cysa-conditionallogic.mp4. Now in column B, I'm using the left command. And notice I have equals left parentheses A1 comma 4 parentheses. This formula is going to display just the first 4 characters from cell A1 in cell B1. In this case, data. So now if I quickly look down column B, I can see that I have 2 videos from the Data Plus course and 2 videos from the CYSA Plus course. Now if I go over and use the next command, we're going to use write. Now write does the same thing, but it does it from the right-hand side. For instance, each of these show up with the file extension .mp4. If I want to quickly see if this is a .mp4 or a .wav file to know if it's video or audio, I can do that by using equals write parentheses A1 comma 4 parentheses. And this says show me the rightmost 4 characters, which is the file extension from column A, and display it in column C, as you can see here. Another common tool you can use is known as mid. Instead of going from the left or the right, we can actually grab things from the middle. For example, if I had a list of social security numbers as shown here, and I just wanted to grab out the middle 2 digits, in this case from A1, 22, or in A2, 33, I can do that by using equals mid, parenthesis A1, comma 5, which is the 5th character, which is number 2, and then comma 2, which is how many digits I want to grab, in this case, the 5th and 6th digit, or 22, in cell A1, and then display that. This allows you to grab any piece of the data if you know exactly where it's going to be, and it's a great way to parse data as you're trying to get things from one field into another. Next, we have the upper command. The upper command will take the data you give it and convert it all to uppercase. So if I'm taking the name of students as an entry from my field, some students might give me all uppercases. Some might use title cases where the first letter is capitalized and the rest is not. And some might use it really funky and make it capital J, lowercase a, capital S, lowercase o, capital N. It really can be anything when the student is entering that information into a field. And so if I want to make them all the same, I might decide that everything that comes in is going to be converted to uppercase. So everything will be all capital letters, and I do that by using equals upper parenthesis and putting in what I want to convert. Similarly, I can convert everything to lowercase using the lower command, and it works the same way. Equals lower parenthesis, the thing you want to convert, end parenthesis. Another way to do this might be to capitalize the word. For instance, if I'm using names, I would want the first letter capitalized and the rest lowercase. To do this, I will use the proper command. Equals proper parenthesis, the thing you want to convert, end parenthesis. Another tool we can use when we're going through and converting our data is to actually count up the number to know how many countable characters are in a given field. And this is known as the length command. It's not written out, though, as length, but it's written out as len for length. So you would use equals len parenthesis and the thing you want to look at. So in some cases, you may want to be able to figure out how long something is before you start trimming off left or right characters, or to be able to identify the midpoint of it to be able to grab things using left, right, mid, and other things like that. The final one we want to talk about is something known as concatenation. Now, concatenation is essentially a merging function. It's where you take two things and you push them together. So if I had two fields, for instance, Jason and Dion for my first name and last name, and I use the concatenate function, I would actually take concatenate cell A plus cell B equals this cell C where I'm concatenating everything into. And so Jason Dion becomes Jason Dion as one word. Notice there was no space in either of those fields, so when I concatenate them, there was no space either. So if I wanted to clean this up and put the first name, last name together as the full name, I would actually concatenate cell A, comma, quote, space, quote, comma, cell B. This will actually give me Jason space Dion, which is a better way to look at a full name instead of smashing them together into one. And essentially what we did was we concatenated three fields here, cell A, a space, and cell B. As you can see, there are lots of different ways to work with text when you're doing data blending, whether it's converting things to uppercase, lowercase, counting the number of things, removing text from either side of the field, or pushing the two fields together into one using your concatenate function.